I think there was a general acceptance that they would eventually be released, but the conditions that were originally put in place by the mayor of Slavyansk and his supporters was that they would be released for a prisoner swap. But the mayor's office has said that that hasn't happened, that they would guess, and he's let them go. I think the negotiations took place over this last week or so, and I think then Russia got involved, which is of course a member of the OSCE, and probably had a great deal to do with the releasing of these men. As I say, they've been held in a room together. They say that they were well treated, but obviously it was an unacceptable event for the 57 countries that make up the OSCE, and eventually they're going to be released. So no conditions, as we understand. Interesting as well that President Putin today says he has no influence over the people who are carrying out what you might describe as a rebellion against the Kiev government, taking over buildings and being in charge of whole cities and towns. I think that's probably correct, because we often see in these type of instances that there may be some assistance from countries, but the people who take over and have the guns on the street have a tendency to stop listening or taking orders. That said, I think Russia still has some influence there, and certainly there are many people who think that there is a much closer link between Russia and some of the gunmen that we've seen taking over these buildings. And because the President Putin again has criticised the Kiev government for carrying out this operation to try and take back control of the east. And I think the real big problem for Ukraine is that if they are going to be successful, they're going to have to put a huge number of police and military from outside of the east of the country, and that will be very violent. And if it gets more violent, as we saw with Odessa yesterday, then that is the pretext for Russia to come in and impose their own law and order on the country. If they don't do that, then the East is going to slowly drift away, and they have their own referendums on exactly that subject on May the 11th, and another one a few days later. And if, as most people expect, they win those, then you will see the East drift towards Russia. So really difficult for Kiev, and of course in the background to all of this, very violent situation, and as we saw particularly in Odessa, large numbers of people being killed in what was a day of fighting that ultimately ended with 31 dying in a building that was set alight. So pretty nasty situation out here, and difficult to see how it's actually really going to calm down at the moment.